So as promised yesterday, we have gotten more and more and more information when it comes to the story, when it comes to the campaign, when it comes to the single player of Battlefield 6. So far, we got the original reveal trailer, then we got the campaign trailer, then yesterday we got about 17 minutes of gameplay, and then after that, all of that, today we got a single player showcase at the Tokyo Game Show. Now you put all of this together and what do you get? You get a pretty good picture of what this campaign is going to look like and what the story of this game is actually going to be. We had a pretty decent idea from the beginning, but now we know characters, we know the characters' backstories, we know all of this. And in this video today, I'm going to be going over all of that. In other words, this is the Battlefield 6 story so far, and pretty much everything you need to know about the story before the game launches. Now, we are going to go into who the antagonist is, but the simple backstory behind what is going on in the game is in the year 2027, by the way, the game takes place in 2028, but in 2027, NATO is on the verge of collapse as a private military corporation by the name of Pax Armada rises to exploit the chaos and reshape global power. Play as members of Dagger 13, a squad of elite Marine raiders taking the fight to Pax Armada. So essentially, we are playing as a group of these soldiers known as Dagger 13, who are a group of US Marine raiders who have all come together to stop Pax Armada and are essentially siding with NATO. Now, as far as the characters and their backstory that make up Dagger 13, we have Cliff Lopez. Rejecting his parents' wishes for him to go to med school, Lopez sought out glory and adventure on the field of battle. With his heart on his sleeve and as the squad's support contribution, he'll never let Dagger 13 down. His rank is Staff Sergeant, he is 29 years old, grew up in Big Sur, California, and his class is Support. Then we have Dylan Murphy, who is a warfighter who chose the front lines over an office career. Murphy's courage and strategic thinking make him a vital member of Dagger as the team's engineer. Now, he is a gunnery sergeant. He is 33-year-old, grew up in Detroit City, specifically Royal York, and he is the engineer of the group. Then we have Haz Carter, who I think they're pointing to be kind of the main character and leader of the group, but as a former high school quarterback who chose the wilderness over fame in the Marines, has recognized for his athletic prowess and survival skills, ultimately joining the Marine Raiders, rising to become an assault expert and the leader of the squad. His rank is Master Sergeant. He is age 41, grew up in Rochester, New York, and his class is Assault. After this, we have Simone Gecko Espina. Gecko learned to hunt on her grandfather's farm, carrying her tracking expertise into her military career. An adrenaline fanatic, she became a special forces operator. As the newest member of Dagger, she's ready to prove herself as the squad's recon expert. She's a staff sergeant, she is 27, grew up in Lewistown, Montana, and of course, she is recon. Now, none of these compare to the most interesting character. The final character of Dagger 13 goes by the name of Lucas Hemlock. He's a CIA operator with a largely redacted past. All that's known about Hemlock is that he is a true patriot willing to do anything for his country. Rank is unknown, age is unknown, he's born in an unknown area, and his class is unknown. Now, this is interesting because now they have a character who they can develop and build on, and we know nothing about his backstory. Also, the only member of the team that is actually a part of the CIA, which is pretty interesting and might tie into a spoiler that I won't go into in this video. Now, for the bad guy, we have someone by the name of Kincaid, and this person we don't know much about, but in one of the gameplay scenes that came out, we got to see a conversation between Dagger 13 and Pax Armada, specifically Kincaid. So let's listen into that.
Maybe he was never here.
No, Kincaid's a ground commander. Likes to get his hands bloody.
Lovely guy. Has the strike. It's the warship. The Artemis. Kincaid planted a mole on board. Pax is planning to use her missiles against New York. Power grid's just the first step. Then it's bridges and tunnels. Then Midtown.
Well, the whole world's gonna look different now. Just takes a little shake of perspective. Once you see the US away from the outside, you see it's not at the heart of anything. It just eats everything.
Oh yeah? So you're gonna replace it with what? Huh? Pax doesn't stand for shit except money and power.
Jesus has. you never change. You can stand in the Empire State and talk like that with a straight face, but there's better freedoms to die for. People don't fight when they've been taught not to think.
First of all, Kincaid absolutely spit in bars when he says people won't fight if they are taught not to think. Wicked line, but after this, we've learned a couple things. First of all, I believe he's Scottish. He is not necessarily the leader of Pax Armada, but he is the ground commander of Pax Armada. Now that is important because the background of Pax Armada is that they are basically the world's largest PMCs. Now, the other thing that we find out is that there is a warship within New York. We're going to come back to that one in a minute, but there's a warship in New York, and Kincaid, or specifically Pax Armada, has a mole on that ship. Now, we don't know who that is, and of course that would be spoilers, so we're not going to find that one out. However, if we dive into another character's backstory, this is Henry Blackburn. He was the main character in Battlefield 3, and basically, he saved the world. Now, as far as Blackburn goes, throughout Battlefield 3, he was interrogated by the CIA and by the US government because they believed that he was working with Russia. Now, after this, he became a little bit jaded, and in his bio for 2042, yes, Battlefield 2042, we find out that by the 2020s, which by the way is when Battlefield 6 takes place, he secretly headed one of the most powerful PMCs in the world. Well, we know who the most powerful PMCs are in the 2020s, and assuming that these games are connected, Henry Blackburn may very well be the main bad guy within this game. Now that's just a little bit of speculation. Let's go to some things that we know for sure. In the very first trailer that was put out for Battlefield 6, we got a little bit familiar with the President of the United States. As we find out, this goes by the name of President Fernandez. Now, we get to hear a little bit more about this president at the beginning of that New York mission titled No Sleep.
Nothing like New York, no matter the weather.
Traffic's backed up too. They closed the roads for the NATO summit.
Thanks, Fernandez. You really lost your vote over a few miles of gridlock?
We go through hell to warn them Pax is in town. And what does President Fernandez do? He says, okay, let's hold a NATO summit right on their doorstep.
I think he's flipping Pax off. Good for him.
Now, we kind of see two sides to this, two sides of the story that they could potentially go with. Number one, President Fernandez didn't listen to them, the Marine Raiders, when they told them that Pax Armada was on their doorstep, aka in America. So that could be one, President Fernandez being on Pax Armada's side, or number two, like they say, that could be the president flipping them off and saying, I dare you to challenge us. What it is, we'll have to wait to find out. Now, going into the missions that we have already seen, number one, we have Operation Gladius. This mission, we are going into Gibraltar. Why? Because Pax Armada has decided to go after Gibraltar after NATO has started to dissolve. The European Union is falling apart, and with it NATO, and they are trying to take Gibraltar as a key aspect to controlling the Mediterranean. If they do that, they have control of a huge portion of the world as well as the seas in the area. So the Marines move in to stop them from taking Gibraltar. The second mission that we have is actually mission number 5. It is called No Sleep, and essentially this one takes place during an invasion of New York from a group known as Pax Armada. Now, based off of the intro to this one, the team of Marine Raiders let the President Fernandez, know that this was going to happen. However, he didn't listen or didn't care and figured the Marines would take care of it. Throughout this mission, we see Kincaid's and Pax Armada's plan to destroy the bridges going in and out of New York so that their attack could happen. On top of this, the boat that they have defending New York, we find out that there is a mole aboard the boat and is taking control of it as we speak. Now, in New York, this all takes place during a NATO summit, which means it's a perfect place for Pax Armada to attack, as there's several military and governmental higher-ups from several different countries. Also, it proves a point that NATO is currently weak. Now, in the final mission that we have, it's mission 8 out of 9. So the second last mission in the game, known as Operation Ember Strike. Now, not much is known about this one, and that's probably done on purpose because it's so late in the game, but we're going to take a deeper dive into it in a couple minutes here. But what is known about this mission is you go in, you destroy some comm links, and at the very end, you destroy a dam. This is not something that's rare to a Battlefield campaign. We've seen dams destroyed before, but they are doing it once again. Why? That's what we're not quite so sure about, but there's a twist to this one, which we'll get to in a minute. I just wanted to give a little bit more background because, again, we don't know if this is in the same universe as Battlefield 3 or Battlefield 4. I'm going to have a separate video diving into that. If you want to see that, please hit the like button. It really does help out the channel. Now, what I wanted to point out is that in the last 3 modern military Battlefield games, which include Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, and now Battlefield 6, when you look at these games, all of them include a group of Marine Raiders typically. If we go back to Battlefield 3, you were playing as a group called Misfit 1-3 or Misfit 13. Battlefield 6 were a Dagger 1-3 or Dagger 13. Back in Battlefield 4, you were playing as Tombstone Company or Tombstone Squad, which was a little bit different, but again, all a bunch of Marines. So this is quite common. And again, if you want to see it, we'll talk about how the games could be in the same universe and connections that can potentially be made. So we know the bad guy, we know the bad group, Pax Armada, that we're playing against, and Dagger 1-3 is the group we're playing as. Now, a quick note about Dagger and something that I found interesting about the 3 missions that you played. In the 3rd mission, or the first mission that we see, we play as Dylan Murphy. We have Murphy, Carter, Lopez, and Gecko with us during that mission. And then on comms, in a separate location, we have Hemlock. Similarly, in the next mission that we see that takes place in New York called No Sleep, I believe it's the 5th mission, we see that we play as Carter. Now, in this mission, we once again have Gecko, Lopez, Carter, and Murphy. Hemlock is somewhere else. He's the CIA agent, so it's a little bit different. However, in the final mission that we have, Carter is no longer there. Hemlock seemingly has replaced him. This could happen for many reasons. Maybe he got hurt, couldn't go on the mission. Maybe he's dead. Maybe he's a double agent. We did hear them mention a double agent right before they talked to Kincaid on the mission where we play as Carter, so that's an option. But the important part is in that final mission, Carter is no longer there. Could be many reasons. I just thought I'd point that out. Another weird thing about it is Carter is supposed to be their leader, so that's another weird part about it as well. Now, going over to the Tokyo Game Show, there wasn't really much more story information to come out of this, but they did have a Q&A discussing essentially what their motto or what their plans were behind developing a campaign.
And so the events that happen in the single-player campaign are the foundation of why the war happens. What is the motivation of each factions, and also, as you have seen in the map, you also get to see events before the multiplayer map to understand what's the battle there.
So what this tells me is that the story after the campaign will likely continue within the multiplayer, similar to what Call of Duty does with their seasonal story, continue the story along with each and every season. Now, to what extent, how much the war ends, we won't know until the game actually comes out. Speaking of which, we actually know how many missions and what the missions are called for the campaign. So we have 9 total missions, and the title is Always Faithful for Mission 1, The Rock for Mission 2, Operation Gladius, the Night Raid, followed up by No Sleep in New York, Moving Mountains, Nile Guard, so that one's obviously going to be in Egypt, and then Operation Ember Strike, we've seen that one, and then finishing with Always Forward. Now, you may be thinking that's a little short. Now, depending on the length of the missions, if they're about a half hour a piece, that would lead to about 4.5 hours, which is pretty typical for a Battlefield campaign. However, if any of those missions are a little shorter, that's a pretty short campaign, which lends to the question, how in-depth is this campaign to begin with? Because we've seen some reviews come out about the 3 missions that people have played, and the reviews aren't so great. And in fact, if you dig a little deeper into how long this game has been in development for, it appears as though this campaign was pretty much developed in 1 year. The reason why we know this is because casting calls ended about a year ago in October, meaning they've pretty much only worked on the story, cutscenes, characters, things like that for about a year. Yeah, the writing may have been a bit before that, but building the campaign in itself, about a year old, which typically is pretty short for building a game. But hey, it could be absolutely incredible. Some of the visuals look insane, and we've seen really good Battlefield campaigns before, so we'll have to wait and see. But I would love to hear what you're thinking of the campaign so far down in the comments below. This is everything that we know for now, and I've got some more videos coming before launch, but once launch comes out, we'll be diving into the ending of the game, breaking it down, the story, what it means moving forward, and everything in between. So make sure you're subscribed, have notifications on, and until next time, peace.
We are reaching for the stars.